Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast. It's a Wednesday, so you know what that means. It's State of Origin night. Now, beyond the State of Origin, the more important stuff is that it is our Supercoach review, wrap-up of round 13 and our preview going into round 14. Quite difficult. I hope we all went well during the bye rounds, and I hope we're all looking forward to the Origin tonight. So we do just want to get in and get this done. There's a lot of ramifications of, what happens in Origin that will affect, the episode that we won't, get to actually discuss on here. We can only do this at certain periods during my week. I've got a pretty hectic schedule, so I've got to do this one now before Origin, but there might be a few things to play out that happen in the Origin arena that change a lot of the things I discussed. We'll have to wait and see. If you want to hear a bit more, on that, or updates on everything that I say, or if things happen, head over to the Instagram page at Chip and Chase Podcast on Instagram, and I'll update you guys on there. Otherwise, you can always just throw me a DM there, or comment on the posts, or you can comment on the YouTube video if you guys are watching this one on YouTube. If you're not, if you're just listening on an audio platform, head over to the YouTube. We've got the face cam going. We've got everything up on the screen, and what you guys can see there, it's just a lot more interactive, and it's better if you're more of a visual learner. So head over to the YouTube channel if you're listening on an audio platform. But let's kick things off, shall we? As you guys can see up on the screen, we got a score of 904 for round 13. Not my favorite. I wanted more. Look, it's still fine. We moved up 1,173 positions, so bringing us into the top 5K now, season rank of 4,864th. So the top 3% of all players. I'm happy with that. I'm pretty happy with the way that we're tracking, and as I say every week, I'm happy with where my team's at. Just a few things didn't go our way, but we talked about the depth that we had leading into that round, into that first bye. We had a lot of players, and it did save me a lot. The low scores of Sam Hughes and David Armstrong didn't actually end up getting them despite owning those players because of the depth that we had. So there were, some silver linings to it. Other players who were just strapped for numbers, they would have got those low scores, which of course, numbers are numbers, you take them. But that is the benefit of my squad being so deep for that round. We're looking pretty good for this round too, the mini bye round of round 14, which is really promising. We definitely need that. It's whether or not we can, really match it with the other couple of bye rounds coming up. But you guys know me. I've held trades, a few trades. I haven't saved too many, but I planned for this all season. So we're already in a good spot leading into it. And now this is where I've planned and where I'm pretty happy that I can move up the ranks. So yeah, 2 trades available, 22 all up. Yeah, 4,864th, total score of 14,486 for anybody who was wondering that. And our score of 904 for round 13 was the ranked in the top 11% of scores. So let's get into the actual team and see how it all tracked and go through a bit of a review here. Of course, at hooker, Jaden Brayley, 53 points. Happy with that. This is what we bought him in for. We bought him in for that cash generation and, that buy number. And I think he's round 19 as well, or he might be 16. Either way, he definitely covers another buy round. I think it's 19. I'm not sure I'll hold him for that long. I probably will, because I don't see the need to just fuck around with hooker. I've got Harry Grant, who obviously didn't play on Origin duties, and I'm happy to just sort of play him all the time. And on the, the weeks that I can't, I'll just cop Brayley. I doubt he's scoring anything lower than like 40s, so I can just cop that every now and then. But a 53 on the bye round, we're really happy with. As we mentioned, Grant did not play, so nothing there. Jack DeBellin, our saviour at front row, 81 points from him. Love him. He's still so lowly owned, I believe. Where are we? Up to 9%. I think he was like 5% heading into the round. Maybe a few people got on him before round 13. But we've had him for a long time. He's been really consistent in our front row position, and I've been really happy owning him since we got around him. So I love that. 81 points is more than I could have asked for the bye round. Terrell Mays, 116 though. We talk about 81 being more than I could ask for. 116 is well and truly more than I could have asked for. I sort of saw it coming too. I knew big minutes. I think he played about 75. I didn't expect 75 minutes, but I thought, around that 65. Crossing for a try helps. We did actually tip him for a try over on the page. If you guys aren't following Instagram, go do that. You can see our bets. Not that we've won any of the bets. That was part of a multi that young Cordy put on for our bets series there. He went Terrell May as an anytime try scorer, Dominic Young as an anytime try scorer. He also had Teddy, which was scratched. So then it was just we needed Sam Walker and Joey Manu. And of course, Manu and Walker didn't cross the stripe, which was a bit of a shame. But, you know, we had an inkling that Terrell May was going to score. So 116 points, really, really happy with that. On the bench, Sam Hughes' 16, as we said, didn't come into our final 13 scores. It's not very great. Everybody, look, it's a shame. People were holding him for that number and just to get points. And yeah, you still got points, so you can't be too disappointed, but I'd be pretty disappointed. Gus Gould has come out and said that he's still a young player and they've just reduced his minutes for that game. You know, they were up big. They didn't need to give him any more. So it might have just been a one-off. You could still hold. I am personally looking to trade, but we will get into that a bit later. Viliami Fifita didn't play, of course. Our second row forwards, Josh Curran, 75 points. Beautiful. He scored a nice little try there. Really, really happy with that. It's weird that, you know, a few weeks ago I was looking to potentially sell him. I'm looking to hold him over this entire Origin period now. Maybe season because of the front row, second row duel, but we'll have to reassess that at a later date. But 75 points we're really happy with. Britton Nikota, 44. It's not the best, and I'm pretty sure he was shafted. He didn't get a line break assist for the Jesse Ramian try. Somehow that goes to Braden Hamlin-Uele. We were blowing up in the group chat about this. This is ridiculous. At the time, they awarded Braden Hamlin-Uele a line break assist and a try assist for the offload like 60 meters away from the try where the try took place. They went through Nikara's hands, who put Ramian into space, and then Ramian passed it to Katoa, and Katoa scored. And so originally they had Hamlin-Uele with a try assist. I was fuming owning Nikora and Ramian. I was not a happy camper. Thankfully, a little bit of justice was restored. Ramian was given the line break and try assist, but Britton Nikora, I do not believe he got the line break assist, which is a shame. So 44 points, it's all base. We want more from him. He's not going anywhere near the Nikora of last year. But again, it's still just points on this buy period, so we'll just take what we can get. 64 points from Kai Pearce-Paul. Really happy with that. Knights were awful. I was at this game. No one looked good. They were shit. But he just sort of crabbed a crossfield a lot. Broke a lot of tackles. A lot of just, you know, fens just thrown out there. And yeah, broke some tackles and got 64 points. So happy with the points. Again, looking on face value, we'll take that. Angus Crichton on our bench did not play. Beau Fermor did not play. And Morgan Smithies, we got 40 points from him in the buy round. Looking to potentially move him on now. I know he plays, I think he's around 19 player as well. He might be 16, I can't recall. He might be 16 actually. We can always just check that real quick. Show buyers playing in round 16. He's around 16 player. So I could keep him, but I think it's sort of time to move him on. Yeah, the 40 points is good. We're happy to just have those solid numbers, those consistent numbers. But I want to move on to bigger and better things. So Morgan Smithies will be on the chopping block. Maybe not this week because he's on the buy, so he's not going to lose cash. But we'll definitely be looking to do it either this week or next. But regardless, 40 points, we'll take it for the buy round. 76 points from Dylan Brown at halfback for us. Of course, that duel coming in very handy. Happy with that. Very, very happy with that. He scored a try, I believe. So yeah, it was just really good to see him back playing really good footy now with Mitch Moses in the team. 76 points we're really happy with. Luke Brooks didn't play as our other halfback. Of course, on the podcast last week, we spoke about potentially selling Luke Brooks to, who were we after? I can't remember who we were doing there. But, it was Luke Brooks to James Tedesco via duels, moving Nikorima down, blah, 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 blah. And then we're doing Angus Crichton to Jacob Preston or Nafahu White. A bit of a shame we didn't do the Angus Crichton to Jacob Preston with how Preston scored. But we ended up changing all those trade plans and just going Nico Hines to James Tedesco. And then when Tedesco was caught into Origin, we swapped that out to Joey Manu. So we just did the one trade last week, which was cool. Good to save a trade. And we'll get to that. But yeah, Luke Brooks still in our team. He's a number for this week. So look, we don't hate it. Cody Nikorima, this one was a bit of a kick in the dick. We brought him in 2 weeks ago now for Charles Nickel-Klukstad when he went down with sickness. We're like, look, we can bring in Cody and shore up the buy rounds. And then he didn't play. Was ruled out with, I think it was just a cork, I believe. So hopefully he's actually going to play this week. I actually didn't check to see the team list names, but we will go and have a look at that in a bit. Actually, I don't even have that open, so let's get that up, being really, really professional over here on my other screen. We'll get the team lists up and ready to look at for our next segment. But back to Cody Nicarima, yeah, very disappointing. We didn't get those points, but what can you do? That's Supercoach. Lachlan Galvin did not play. Joey Manu. So, of course, we just mentioned we brought him in instead of James Tedesco after late scratching. It sort of worked out well. Not really, because I wanted Tedesco. I wanted to hold Tedesco. I really wanted to anti-pod Manu sort of all season. But also, I like the idea when stuff like that happens, that's going to fuck around people's trades. Like, if you already owned Joey Manu and then you've brought in Tedesco and then, you know, you only find out late in the round that you can't have him, excuse me, what are you going to do? Like, do you waste that trade on Tedesco and just cop it? Do you then move him on to Scott Drinkwater, which, you know, in fairness, Scotty went really well, but not someone I really wanted to own. Like, it stuffs around a few people, while for me, I was flexible. I was able to just move over to Joey Manu in the same amount of trades. So that was cool. The 51 points doubled as my captain wasn't, though. Look, it's not the end of the world, and as I said, we still moved up. It could have been a lot better, though. Yeah, just wish we had the Tedesco doubled score, but what can you do? 51 points doubled to 102 from Joey Manu. Moving on to Jesse Ramian, we noted that he did get the try assist and line break rewarded to him. So 72 points there for Jesse Ramian. Love that. That is my king. We've held him. We've had him all season. Look, we don't need to speak about him every week. We continue to do it. So yeah, just really happy to get those scores. 47 from Greg Marju. Honestly, I thought he was absolutely terrible in this game. Again, watching this one, lots and lots of errors. Like, if I'd be considering dropping him as a Newcastle team. I'm a big fan of Greg Marju too, really love him, and I was happy to buy him, and I'm still happy to get 47 points out of a game that I thought he was just shocking in. So, look, there's still upside, hopefully, in the future. He did also essentially bomb a try, so there could have been more there, but what can you do? 47 points, we'll just take it. 59 from Kale Ilo, again, all sort of in base, so happy to have him doing his thing. Dominic Young, 75, scored a nice try. We're happy for that. Val Holmes didn't play. David Armstrong, 24 in his worst game of the season. Look, he was due one. He's been superb this season for a young fella, you know, filling in the massive shoes of Kalen Ponga. I think he's been great. Really awful conditions, and, you know, he's still young. He was due a shocker. It's a shame it happened in the bye week because a lot of people would have needed those points. As I said, the 24 points didn't end up counting towards my top 13, so it's not the end of the world for me, but I would have liked, you know, lots. So, oh well. Ruben Garrick, our fullback at the moment, because we moved in Manu via Jules, didn't play, and Reece Walsh did not play. So that's how the team actually went. Yeah, as I said, pretty happy overall, but it could have been a lot better if a few things fell our way. IE even. Bloody Cody Nicarima playing, or Tedesco actually staying in the side. Let's have a quick read through the round 14 team lists, though. Dragons and Tigers. What have they got going on? They've named all of their origin stars, Ben Hunt, Jaden Sewer, and Zach Lomax, in the reserves. I wouldn't expect any of them to play, to be honest. After how the Dragons played last week, I don't think they need to rush these guys back. And, you know, it's a really short turnaround. Like, they'll play origin on Wednesday night, and then they'll have Thursday off and then have to play Friday night. So, yeah, I don't think they'll rush any of these guys back. So it's the same lineup that they ran out with last week, which is really good. They played really well, and it means good things for like Jack DeBellin for myself. For the Tigers, Justin Olam returns from suspension in the centres. Charlie Staines moves to the centres as well, with Alex Lobb coming in onto the wing. The massive, I think he's about 6'5", 6'6". He's a goal kicker too. So one that we need to keep an eye on is bottom dollar. He played as a 18th man last week. Got a bit of a run there. He looks decent. Look, they've been struggling in their centre wing department. Their backs out, I should say, their outside backs all season. Could be really interesting seeing Lobb come in. I hope he performs well. If you're an Appy Coruscant owner, it's worrying, because he's a great goal kicker. He may be taking that from Coruscant. We will have to see. But those are the changes there. David Clement is suspended. Alex Twal is now prop. Papali'i is out with an ankle injury. Alex Seyfarth is now the second rower with Sione Fanu? Samuela Fanu, my apologies. Justin Matamua lock. Brent Naden is on the bench in his return from suspension. And Ruben Porter makes his NRL debut off the bench as well. A lot of changes for the Tigers, none overly relevant. We don't own too many Tigers players. I guess the big ones are just what it means for Apasai Coruscant's goal kicking and, people who own Isaiah Papali'i, I guess. But not too much going on there. For the Titans and the Rabbitohs, big ins for the Titans include Kieran Foran back at halfback, Chris Randall still at 5'8" with him, which fair enough. Chris Randall's been playing some pretty darn good footy there. Philip Sami is in the centres now. Jojo Fifita moving back to the wing, and the player I like, whose name I can't remember, the Greg Marju mold, Tony Francis dropping out with that broken, what was it? I can't remember. He injured himself. It probably tells me down here. Jaden Campbell also listed among the reserves, so we'll have to see what happens there. Jojo Fifita done his pec, that's right, so he is out. But yeah, Phil Sami comes back in. Fodawaker has been named to start at prop, despite, playing Origin, so we'll have to see if that one happens. And Beau Fermor back onto the edge with, of course, the big man, David Fifita. So Keanu Keaney is also keeping his spot at fullback. For the Rabbitohs coming off the bye, not a whole lot here. Their backline is now Latrell at fullback, AJ and Jacob Gagai are the wingers, Tane Milne and Richard Kennar are the centres, Whiten at 5'8", Cody Walker at halfback. Of course, he was named there a couple of weeks ago, then missed out with injury, so interesting to see how he actually goes at halfback. Their forward pack of Mawali, Cook, Kepi, Cheekam, Arrow and Kaloa Matangi. And their bench of Mamazelos, Talis Duncan, Saliva Havili, and Tom Burgess. So they're getting a little bit back to full strength, not nearly near full strength yet. Ideally you want Whiten at centre, you want Campbell Graham back. Look, there's a few moving parts, but they're getting there. They've got a really good spine. I mean, Latrell Mitchell, Jack Whiten, Cody Walker, Damien Cook is an all-time bloody spine there. So a lot of firepower in the Rabbitohs. I'm starting to get a bit of belief in them. Moving on, however, Cowboys and Warriors. So the Cowboys have named a relatively unchanged team from the team that just upset the Roosters, which means Tom Chester has actually been the only addition to their team coming onto the bench. He was originally named to start at the centres, then was a late withdrawal with Jackson Purdue making his NRL debut, and he did a cracking job. So Jackson Purdue keeps his place at centre, but important to note for the Cowboys, Val Holmes, Murray Taulagi, Tom Dearden, Reece Robson, Jeremiah Nanai, and Ruben Cotter, all of their Origin stars are listed among the reserves. So wait and see. This one's in Townsville. So, of course, they would have to travel back from Sydney, and it's a relatively short turnaround. Will they risk them? Maybe not. They have named Sam McIntyre at hooker with Jake Granville injured. So maybe someone like Reece Robson backs up, because I don't think you can get through a full game with Sam McIntyre at hooker. We'll just have to wait and see. They're taking on my beautiful Waz, who welcome back a lot of players from injury. Chance Nickel-Klukstar back at fullback. Rocco Berry back into the centres with Adam Pompey. The wingers of DWZ and Marcelo Montoya are the same. Chanella Harris-Tavita and Tamaro Martin are the halves. Sean Johnson another week away, they believe. So pretty tough there for anybody looking to buy Sean. Their forward pack's a little bit interesting. Jackson Ford has been named at front row, with Mitch Barnett at second row. Now, yeah, personally, I'd prefer, and even Marata Niokore is at second row. I'd have either of those two playing at front row, but maybe it's just a bit of smoke and mirrors. Jackson Ford, named at 10, probably will spend the majority of his time at second row. I don't really like him as a middle forward. I think he'll get through a lot of work. But Mitch Barnett, I think what he's been doing at front row would be the better option there. So we'll have to see what happens there. But good to see Murata back. Tohu Harris is also back at lock. Dylan Walker on the bench. Kurt Capewell also returns from injury, which is really good to see. Unfortunately, they have dropped Bunty Afoa and Tane Tuapiki, who were some of our best players over the last couple of weeks. So, tough, but that's what happens when you got a full side. They've still got Tom Ale and Jazz Tavanga on that bench as well. So we'll have to see how that one goes. Definitely a lot of moving parts to play out with those two teams. The Broncos and the Sharkies are up next. Broncos have named Reece Walsh and Selwyn Cobbo to return from Origin and start. I'd expect Cobbo to definitely play. He's coming off the bench for Queensland. He may not even get game time. I sort of think Reece Walsh will play, but it's a bit more up in the air. I think, Broncos, they're not in the position that they probably should be or where they'd like to be, where they can just rest their stars coming back from Origin. They need to win a lot more games to really solidify themselves. So they might be wanting to rush these players back. It's not a full rush. This is the late Saturday game, so they do get like 2 full days. They get all of Wednesday, all of Thursday, all of Friday off to recuperate, and then this is right until the end of the day, the 7:35 game. So I expect Reece Walsh to play, but there is a chance that he drops out. They move Cobbo to fullback and they bring in Josiah Karapani. We'll have to wait and see that. I hope Walsh plays for my sake. Payne Haas and Paddy Carrigan also returning from Origin there. For the Sharkies, unchanged? No, Cameron McInnes returns from Origin. They have elected to rest Nicho Hynes despite, Origin not even being played. He's not even in the reserves. They're just not naming Nicho Hynes. So still Daniel Atkinson and Braden Trindle in the halves, but Cam McInnes back at lock's really good. Siosifa Talakai into second row as well with Teague Wilton. I believe he broke his hand, so he is out for a few weeks there. Beyond that, we go to the Storm and the Knights. Storm, very strong side. Farlongo still at fullback. Grant Anderson partnering Xavier Coates on the wing. Wait, does that mean... No, he would have injured himself, didn't he? Will Warbrick, yes. Tyron Wishart partnering Jerome Hughes in the halves. Their forward pack, all the same. Eliesa Katoa, popular by this week, of course, there. Yeah, not too much to note for the Storm. Just a really strong side and quite scary for the Knights to head over to Melbourne and play that side coming off the bye when the Knights put in the performance that they did. For the Knights, they have elected to go with a relatively unchanged side as well. Actually, I think it's the exact same side. Yeah, no changes for them. So despite their poor loss, they've gone with the same sort of team here. We'll have to see how that one goes for them. Then we have the Panthers and the Sea Eagles. Panthers, they're bringing back Jerome Luai from Origin, as well as Isaiah Yeo and Liam Martin. I'd actually expect them all to play. I think that, again, the Panthers, with their couple losses, they're going to want to redeem themselves. And also, this one's Sunday? Yeah, so they get an extra full day. They get 3 days to back up. They'll just put their Origin players on ice. Of course, barring any Origin injuries or whatnot, but I expect all of their Origin stars to play. Dane Laurie still at fullback with Dylan Edwards, out. He is named in the reserves, but I think it's very, very, very unlikely that he will play for the Panthers. Then we have the Sea Eagles team. Interesting here, Tolutau Kula returns from his little injury. In the centres, though, they've elected to keep Lehigh Hopawate at fullback, move Tommy Talau from centre back to wing. I hate it. I don't understand what Anthony Seabold's doing. I mean, Talau's been good on the wing, but he's been amazing in the centres. He's built to be a centre. I've always said that. Or his best position's 5'8", but I think centre is where you can get the best of every sort of quality out of him. Or at least move Ruben Garrick back to the wing, who's a winger, in my opinion. I don't understand it. Move Cooler to fullback, move Talau to centre, or move Garrick to wing and Talau to centre. It's just, none of it really makes sense to me, but it's a bit of a kick in the dick for those who went early on Tolutau Kula. Someone I was really looking at. There's a chance they get flogged in this game, and then, maybe next week they make that change, and then I'll look at Kula because I really want him if he's at fullback. But yeah, really interesting to see what happens there. They, of course, have named Daly Cherry Evans and Jake Trebojevic to back up from Origin. Lastly, we have the Bulldogs and the Eels. The Bulldogs, they are without Josh Adokar, with young Blake Wilson getting his shot on that wing, of course. Adokar out for up to 10 weeks, I believe it is, with a hamstring injury. Matt Burton returns from Origin. He may not even play. He's only 18th man. So, yeah, good to see him back for the Bulldogs. Not too much of note for the rest of their side. For the Eels, the season-ending injury to Bailey Simonson has let Blaze Talangi come into the centres and moved Sean Russell back to the wing. I think that's the best thing for them, getting Talangi more game time. Whether or not he plays the full thing at center, or he, fills in at fullback, and him and Gutho sort of switch roles a bit. We'll have to wait and see, but I think it's really good for them. They've also named Jaman Hopgood to return from Origin as well. And that is all for the team list changes for round 14, heading into our first minor bye round. So next up, let's look at some trade talks, shall we? Starting with, as you guys would know, our best buys, round 14, point of difference players, our pods for the week. We didn't do it last week. We outlined all of the best buys over the entire buy/origin period. So if you guys didn't see that, that one's still up on the page. Again, that's essentially the entire period. It's not just for the early stages. Keep looking at that. Those are the best players. One of those players does get a feature in this list, so you would know that if you guys saw that. Again, up on the Instagram, if you guys are just listening on an audio platform and you can't follow along for what we're looking at here, you can get these up on the Instagram and have a look yourself. But let's get into our best buys, the point of difference players, starting with Keon Koloamatangi. Now, once again, we've got all the stats that are pretty important and everything that you sort of want to know when you're buying a player up on the screen or on your phone or whatever device you want to use to look at if you're looking on the Instagram. And I'm going to read through what I've written on the right-hand side. With the Rabbitohs starting to return to form, Koloamatangi finds himself on the pod buyer's radar. In round 12, Keon scored 133 points against the Eels in his first game at lock forward, and thankfully for us super coaches, he's named there again this week. Even without that massive ton, Keon has only scored sub 50 twice all year, so there's little to no risk involved in getting him in, and at worst, he will provide consistent scoring cover over the Origin period. With his negative break-even and matchup against the Titans this week, it's the perfect time to get him in for the likes of Morgan Smithies or even downgrading an Angus Crichton. Yeah, I'm all for people going for Koloamatangi. I'm buying tickets back into this whole Rabbitohs revival. Obviously, I don't think there's any way, shape or form they're a finals team, and I think they're still going to be a team to target in matchups. I'd still be looking at players against them. For instance, Dave Fifita this week is a great VC or captain option, but I believe in them a bit more. And even if they're not playing well and Keon's not scoring tries or whatnot, he has a really, really high base of 50. He's basing, as you can see in the graph there, base of 49. So with anything else, he's evading, whatever, he's going to be a gun. So I'm really like Keon for sub 600k. It's a really good option there. We will move into our second pod buy though. Jerome Hughes. Once again, stats up on screen. I will read through. A lot of people are looking to Mitch Moses to solve their halfback conundrum, but I believe Hughes is the much better and safer buy. The Storm have a great bye schedule, playing every game bar round 19, and they have some juicy matchups within that period. Unlike Moses, he's zero risk to Origin, and with Munster's injury, I expect him to have his hand in absolutely everything in the Storm's attack, so points are going to come thick and fast. There's a reason we outlined him in our best halfback options over the bye period post, and it's made selling Hines never been so easy. That doesn't make any sense. Selling Hines has never been so easy, is what I actually wrote, but I tried to switch up. Anyway, Jerome Hughes. Yeah, a lot of people looking at Mitch Moses. Not for me. I see the merit. He was great last week. I've been looking at him for a long, long time, Mitch Moses. I always had plans of bringing him in and moving Luke Brooks to him right on the bye period. But I also had plans on doing that when it was Nathan Cleary not injured, or he came back from his injury, and I expect him not to get injured again. And I'm like, Cleary with a halfback, I'm going to run Moses through the Origin period. I'm worried now that if New South Wales lose, Hines is dropped, or even with Hines' injury, we know that Mitch Moses is at least tried and tested in that arena. I think he will get back into the Origin arena if New South Wales lose. So I'm very wary of jumping early on him. You don't have to, obviously. Origin tonight, we will have that sort of answer, but there's still a lot more risk with going with Mitch Moses. I prefer Hughes. He's also a little bit cheaper. I really like the Storm's bye schedule. Yeah, they missed round 19, which is a bit difficult, but they cover every single other game, and it's just really good to have through that period. They have games against Knights, Warriors, Dolphins, Raiders and Tigers, which none of those teams are going all that well at the moment. You know, Dolphins and Raiders getting a couple wins, Waz getting a couple wins, but still teams you'd normally target. So I really like his schedule. I'm all for the Hughes train if you're looking to sell Nicho Hynes, which of course I did last week, but I pivoted in a different direction. Lastly, our last pod player, we've gone with Bryce Cartwright. Hear me out. Let's get the Cardi party started again. Shout out Corny for not backing his gut and buying Bryce, but I'll make sure everyone reading won't do the same. It's no coincidence the Eels bounce back comes with the returns of Gutho and Moses from injury, which means great things for Bryce Cartwright. In fact, in his last 3 games with Mitch Moses, he's averaged 79.6 points per game. Priced at only a touch over 500k, he's really cheap for the output we know he can produce. And with Lane now being used as a middle forward and Maddo still out, I don't see his minutes dropping from the 80 he's currently playing. He does miss round 16, but provides good coverage throughout the rest of the period. Not difficult to move a player like Smithies up to him. Yeah, look, let's touch on his little buy coverage here. Bulldogs this week who, you know, we need to stop pretending that they are a team that we target. They're the second best defensive team in the comp. In saying that, I think this Eels team, they've got a lot of attack in them, and I do think Mitch Moses is going to do a very similar thing to the Bulldogs that he just did to the Sharks, and Cardi could be the beneficiary of that. Regardless, if he's not, he still scores decently in base. He's playing 80 minutes. Even if when Ryan Madison does return from injury, I think the minutes he's going to take away from players will only be from Kelma Tuolangi, who a lot of other people are buying. I don't hate it. He's cheap, a lot cheaper than Bryce Cartwright. He's playing really good. I still think at the moment he's in that 80-minute second row role, but it could be a week. It could even be this week with Maddo named in the reserves for the Eels, that Maddo comes back and eats into his minutes. I just don't see a world where, there is a possibility he can eat into Cartwright's minutes. I just don't see it happening. Even before Maddo's injury and whatnot, you know, last year Cartwright was an 80-minute player, so I think they'll keep him at that. So I think he's quite a solid and safe buy, and yeah, I really like the coverage he provides. 2 tough games against Bulldogs and Roosters coming up, and then the bye, so you could wait, but he's at a decent price at the moment with the break even still quite low. And he's still just better playing, you know, he's a playing player to have. This week you might be low on those sort of players. And as we've outlined, moving someone like Morgan Smithies on, who doesn't play this week, to Bryce Cartwright, who gives you a number, could be really great. Again, I'm all for it. And as was young Corny, who gets a shout out in this one, who really wanted him last week and did not. That's the game we play though. So Bryce Cartwright is our last pod buy. Let's get into my team then. So the most traded in players not in my team. These are just the ones, as it says, that I don't own. So there's probably some players I do own that are normally in this most traded in section. First up, David Fifita. Simple as that. I'm getting him in. There's a little bit of risk, you know, if Queensland lose tonight, the same way that if New South Wales lose, maybe Mitch Moses comes in. If Queensland lose tonight, David Fifita probably gets named in their future teams. I don't think I care. Obviously, I will reassess a little bit more after the game, but I think I need him for this week's matchup against the Rabbitohs. I'm pretty sure he's got Tigers coming up as well. Can we see that? I'm not sure. You can definitely see it. Let's just trade Beau Fermor and then go David Fifita, click. Oh no, it's not showing me much. That's interesting. Regardless, I'm going to bring in David Fifita, and I think there's a very good reason that he's the most traded in this week. Second up, Brendan Hands. I understand it. Very close to bottom dollar. Played 80, scored 65. I think he will stay playing 80. I don't see a world where Lussick gets himself back into that side. I'm a big fan of Brendan Hands. It's a pretty decent move. I'm tempted to do it, but I just don't really want to waste money on waste trades on the hooker position, but I can understand why people are doing it. I do think that's a good trade. Jerome Hughes, we've already outlined at number 3. I think he's a great trade. Eliesa Katoa, great trade. We already spoke about Hughes' buy coverage. Same applies for Eliesa Katoa. No threat of origin, scoring really, really well. I think he's a fantastic option to trade in. Latrell Mitchell, the last player, he's also someone that we outlined in our best players to own over the Origin period. I really like that too. It's good to bring him in this week against that Titans matchup, so I like that. But there is a bit of risk. If New South Wales lose, maybe we bring in Latrell for game 2. So just keep that sort of stuff in mind. Most traded out in my team, Morgan Smithies number 1. We've already spoken. Makes a lot of sense, but you can do it next week if you can, afford to cover numbers this week. Angus Crichton, I'm going to be doing that. Don't really like the Roosters by coverage, and I assume he gets sort of rested, reduced minutes. I'm hoping he drops a lot in price. So I'll be moving on Angus Crichton. Sam Hughes. I understand this one as well. I'm looking to do it myself. You could keep on to him. He plays another bye round coming up. I can't recall if it's 16 or 19. Gus Gould has come out and said that he was on reduced minutes just because they were up so much and he's young, whatnot. He probably goes back to his usual minutes and punches out, 35 to 40, which could be good to have on this week where, a lot of people might be short, but I'm not short and I want to move him on. So I'm going to be looking to move on Sam Hughes. Dominic Young, the next most traded out. Don't understand it. Would not be trading out Roosters players. I don't care if they're on the bye or whatnot. And David Armstrong, the next most traded out. That's not great either. He's got a break even of 12. He's still got prices to come. Plays another bye round coming up. Even if he, starts dropping off and he keeps scoring this low sort of stuff, you can move him on in a week or two. It doesn't have to be right now. Even if you're short on numbers, I don't think he's really the answer to move on. So let's look into specifically what I am doing. We've already talked about Angus Crichton. We'll be going to the big man. Let's just go by average. David Fifita comes in. Bing, bang, boom. Just a straight swap there. I think I'd lose like maybe 10K or 20K on it. It's not that deep. The other one that we've talked about, Sam Hughes out. Now, there are a few options. You can look at, Adam Mariota. He's on the bye, so I don't know why I'd bring him in this week, but played really, really good last week. He probably gets that duel coming out, but again, I don't really want to be trading in someone who's not playing this week, despite having decent enough numbers. Liam Henry was really, really good. Punched out like 71 tackles. Incredible stuff. Back on the bench this week. Panthers don't play any of the other buys, I don't think, so not really the best coverage. Not for me. I'm going to be looking at, you could even go Tamalolo down here. Look, I've got 550K. I could go a lot more expensive. I could bloody bring in a James Fisher-Harris if I wanted to. I don't, but I could do that. What I want to do is scroll down a little bit. Actually, didn't play in round 13, so let's just go to 3-round average. Sort it by that. Scroll down a little bit, and we will find Samuela Fainu. Now, 5K more expensive than Nafahu White. Nafahu White, playing pretty well. I love the Tigers' bye schedule, their origin schedule, whatever you want to call it. They play every game from here on out. So round 14 all the way to the round 21 or something. I'm pretty sure they play till round 25, 26 or 27. It's something ridiculous like that. Is there a way I can check that? No, there's not. I swear it used to show the draw season stats maybe. No, it doesn't. Oh yeah, upcoming fixture. So they don't have a bye until round 26. Look at that. Round 14 all the way through to round 26. So I love that sort of bye schedule for the Tigers. He's another dual position player, which I can fuck around with a lot with Curran, Viliami Fifita, Samuela Fainu now, and Josh Curran. I can always play around with them. It just helps depth a lot. It did cost me, 60K to do that, but I think it's better for the long term. I'm happy to play him. I think he's locked into 80 minutes, especially with John Bateman still a few weeks away, and now Isaiah Papali'i out for 8 weeks. Pretty happy to do that. Just really good buy coverage. It sets me up. Getting in Fifita and Fainu is 2 more players for round 16 and 17, I believe. Depending on whether or not Fifita does or doesn't get picked for Origin for the coming weeks. But regardless of if he does or doesn't, I want him for this week, so I'll bring him in. Let's look at sit v start. So a lot has to change here with the Origin players returning and whatnot, and teams coming back off the bye. Harry Grant has been named for the Storm. He will start for me. I'm probably going to throw a reserve. We'll get to reserves in a bit. Let's just sort out the starting team for now. Harry Grant will start. Terrell May is on the bye, so we're not playing him. Let's F around with our duels for a bit. We will move Curran up top, and we will start Curran and Jack DeBellin as our front rowers. Our second rowers will go with Britton Nicola, Kai Pearce-Paul, David Fifita as our starters. Or we can even, start Beau Fermor. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Fermor will probably get a reserve for us. Our halves options. Dylan Brown, definitely going to be our starting halfback. We will have to see if Luke Brooks gets us a reserve in a second. Cody Nikorima. Was he not named again? Oh, did I miss that? No, surely not. Where are the Dolphins? Oh, Dolphins aren't on the bye. Oh, Dolphins are on the bye, aren't they? Phew. Huh. Okay. Crisis averted. Dolphins are on the bye. So I can't play Cody Nikorima. That's fine. I'm going to play Lachlan Galvin. And you know what? I'm really happy to play Galvin with the matchup that he has. So let's just forget the little mental breakdown there. Galvin at 5'8" for us. Joey Manu and Dominic Young are out. Roosters on the bye. So for now, we will play... When do the Cowboys play? Third round. We'll start with Valentine Holmes in there. And then we can always swap him by the time that Cowboys Warriors game comes around. And I can swap him to David Armstrong because Armstrong plays a bit later in the round. But for now, we'll have Valentine Holmes, who, of course, named and reserved in reserves. He's not actually named. We'll just wait and see. Jesse Raymond definitely playing. Greg Marju playing. Kale Iro playing. And whatnot. Ruben Garrick and Reece Walsh are up next. Ruben Garrick and Reece Walsh, both named. So both will play for me. So now let's sort out reserves. Let's just take them off everyone and look at sit v starts. So first of all, Reece Walsh or Ruben Garrick, whichever one isn't starting. Let's say Ruben Garrick for now. He gets a reserve. They've got the Panthers, so it's not ideal, but you need playing players. He's a gun at the best of times. More than happy to play him. So there's one reserve locked and loaded. We are going to throw one on Samuela Fainu. Tigers against Dragons. I know Dragons played really well, and I do rate the Dragons, but I think he's just safe for 40 points minimum essentially, and he has attacking upside. So I'm happy to give him a reserve there. Now we've got two more to split around. Beau Fermor definitely gets one, and then lastly, we're looking at an option of Cody Nikorima, David Armstrong, or Jaden Brayley. Not Cody Nikorima, sorry. Luke Brooks, David Armstrong, Jaden Brayley. David Armstrong may be, starting for our team depending this Valentine Holmes thing. So we will look to, stuff around with that. I don't want to play him if I don't have to. Not against the Storm in Melbourne and coming off the performance he had. I don't really want to play Luke Brooks against the Panthers. So I think locking in just base of Jaden Brayley as my final reserve is really, really good. Just to get 45 plus points of just pure base. Yeah, there's more upside in Brooks and Armstrong, but they also verse the two best teams in the comp in the Storm and the Panthers. So I'm happy to lock in the base. So we're looking at the reserves of Jaden Brayley, Samuela Fainu, Beau Fermor, and Ruben Garrick this week. A few more things to play out. If Reece Walsh, who has been named, if he's, a late out, I will... When do Manly play? They play late in the round too. So I can just play Garrick, put a reserve on someone else. But yeah, if Reece Walsh doesn't play, then we'll have to play one of Brooks or Armstrong. And if Valentine Holmes doesn't play, then we'll have to play the other one. So we've still got a couple players in there to play, essentially. So we're actually in a good spot. In a way, I sort of want more players to drop out. I almost want... How many people own Holmes? 24% of players. It's still pretty decently low owned. I don't know. Look, I think I'm very well just covered for this week regardless, so I'm pretty happy with that. Let's look at the captain options. Now, as we do this, we just go from top to bottom and just work our way down here. Starting with the Dragons and Tigers, there's not much here, But also there's not much in this week regardless. So I actually like a Lachlan Galvin vice captain if you own that. If you own an Appy Coruscant, I don't mind a vice captain there. It's a little bit more risky with, Alex Lobb potentially goal kicking. Pretty sure Jaden Sullivan goal kicked last week as well, or 2 weeks ago. So it's interesting that. But Lockie Galvin against the Dragons, I don't hate that. Just because there's not much this week. Moving into the Titans Rabbitohs, Dave Fifita, he makes the most sense as a captain or a VC. Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs is a good option. Cody Walker, if you own him, it's not bad there. But there's a few options in that game. Neither team are that great defensively. Then we have Cowboys Warriors. Scott Drinkwater, I really like in this game. I think Warriors get up for it, but Scott Drinkwater as a goal kicker, that, if Valentine Holmes doesn't back up from Origin, Scotty Drinkwater goal kicking, I think, is almost a lock and load. You could still VC and wait for somebody else later in the round. But yeah, I like that. Valentine Holmes is an option if he plays, but that's an option. For Warriors players, you probably don't have any that you're looking to captain. But in saying that, I do think base this round is the way to go. I'm not particularly looking for, like center wings to captain. Fullback, sure, if you can get a good matchup like Scott Drinkwater, as we just mentioned. But I think someone like David Fifita this week is perfect because you get solid regardless, but you have the, upside in him. I just think this week it's too risky to go for the high ceiling plays that have low in them. So, it's just something to think about there. Broncos Sharkies, tough game. You could captain Reece Walsh if he ends up playing. I'm not going to, but there's an option. There's no Hines for the Sharks, so you don't captain anyone there. Storm and Knights, if you own a Jerome Hughes, I really like that as a captain. You could even be really risky and go Nick Meaney just for the goal kicking aspect. But again, I'd want a little bit safer. I'd go Hughes, but no one else really. But yeah, Meaney's an option if you want to be risky. Panthers, Manly. There's really not any Panthers players you can own, really. I mean, they've named Brian Toto. That's a really good option to captain because, Toto's base is insane and he has upside. So I like Toto as a captain. No one else really. Manly players, not really anyone there that I'd be looking at either. Bulldogs and Parramatta as the last game. Yeah, not really much I'm looking at there either. Even if you've brought in a Mitch Moses, I don't think you want to captain him. We need to talk about the fact that the Bulldogs are the second best defensive team in the competition. So you don't want to captain that. So for me, I'm captaining Dave Fifita. I know it's the second game of the round, but we just spoke about how I want that solid base, that his low scoring is his high scoring. And he still has upside against the Bunnies, which means for a VC, I'm just going to slap it on Lachlan Galvin because that is the only other player playing before him that I have in my squad. I mean, I could go Jack DeBellin if I wanted to, but where's the fun in that? I'm pretty set with David Fifita as my captain. I'm really keen on that. So that is where I'm looking for that. But that wraps us up. That is how we are doing for round 14. Really confident coming into this round. I say it every week. I'm pretty happy. We did use 2 trades this week. I could save one and not get in Samuel Afinu, but I do like that. Before we wrap things up, let's have a quick look at my numbers for round 16. A lot of things to, blow over here, so we're not taking too much of an account into it. But Josh Curran, Terrell May, Samuel Afinu was 3. David Fifita, I'm going to count is 4 if Queensland, don't pick him, but I'm going to count that as 4. 5 for Fermor, 6 for Smithies currently, even though I'd like to sell him. 7 is Brooks, 8 is Galvin, 9 is Nicoderima, 10 Manu, 11 Young, 12 Garrick. So I've already got 12 for round 16. So just 1 or 2 more players along the way. Again, a lot of moving parts to happen. A lot of things that could change in between then. But for now, I'm pretty happy with those numbers. And I can hopefully keep looking at saving trades. For round 19, Brayley DeBellin is 1, 2. Samuel Afinu is 3. Fifita 4. Nicola 5. Kaipius Paul 6. Fermor 7. Brown 8. Brooks 10. Galvin 11. Nicarima 12. Ramian 13. Ido 14. Marju 15, Armstrong 16, Garrick 17. So I'm more than covered for round 19. So I've got a lot of options, a lot of opportunities to save trades in and amongst this period. I do think it's the best thing to do. Use this feature, guys. I don't know if it's Supercoach Plus only feature. I don't think so. Maybe it is. It actually might be. But it's worth having a look at your players, because this is the period that you can actually save trades if you've set yourself up well for it. But definitely, it's a period to maximize on. So keep a firm eye on this period. Look on the Instagram. Look at my Instagram. There's a lot of more content creators out there. Obviously, a lot of people bigger than me that will have their say, and listen to them. But over on the Instagram, we do have the best players to target for every position over the bye period. So have a look at that. Read into that. We've outlined every schedule for those players, and yeah, it's a real help. So definitely something you guys want to have a look at. So that's over on the Instagram at Chip and Chase Podcast. But that one will do us here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Up the Blues tonight. Really hope we get a good game of footy. That's all I want from Origin. A lot of people love it more than anything. I love Origin, and I love the Blues, and I support the Blues. I would much prefer my team, as in the Warriors, to win a premiership than I care for the Origin series. The Origin, for me, the best part about Origin is that it's the epitome of rugby league. It is the best footy that you get to see all year. And that's what I'm here for. As a footy fan, I just can't wait to see this one. In saying that, up the Blues. Hope we get the job done. And I sort of hope it happens so there's less headaches moving forward. But that'll do us. Everyone enjoy that game, and I'll see you guys next time.